Tricia Swift here, and there is a hotly contested topic in education, especially right now during the COVID-19 crisis, and that is the difference between distance learning and classroom-based learning. Which one is better? A lot of people say distance learning is, especially right now, because there are several benefits to distance learning. Distance learning started a long time ago. You would be surprised. It actually started in the 1700s, or otherwise known as the 18th century. And that was called correspondence school, meaning that you would send it through the mail. Obviously, that's not the way distance learning works today. Distance learning, obviously, became quite popular with the rise of the internet. And now that we have the COVID-19 crisis, distance learning is even more popular because we can't have face-to-face communications in schools right now. Online learning, or distance learning, has lots of positives. For instance, it can meet the demand for online courses that may not be available in certain schools, especially in rural school districts or school districts that have a poorer community. Students can choose when they take a course, when they do their coursework, and if it's made interactive, that can be more engaging. For instance, distance learning can be synchronous or asynchronous. Synchronous means that all the students do their work together. Asynchronous means students choose when they do their work. Now, there are some negatives as well. Teachers may not be available when they're needed, especially with asynchronous learning. And there may not be as much interaction between students, especially with asynchronous learning. So, some people say classroom-based education is where it's at because there's a need for FaceTime with students, especially students who struggle, maybe alternative students. And by FaceTime, we're not talking about this FaceTime. We're talking about face-to-face time with teachers and students being together in the same room. If a student is struggling, a teacher will be able to know that and be able to help them. And struggling students really usually bond with the teacher and really thrive with that face-to-face connection. If a struggling student goes to a online format, that can make them struggle more and perform worse. The questions can be answered. The teacher's right there. The questions can be answered in real time, and the students don't have to wait like they might have to with distance education. And like I said before, the teachers can see that puzzled look, that blank stare, like, oh my gosh, I don't know what you're talking about. And then the teacher can say, okay, let's back up. Let's try this again. And they'll be able to help the students more. Some negatives about classroom-based education, that there might be too many students. Class sizes might be kind of big. And so the teacher might be distracted or might be busy helping other students, and the students might not actually get their questions answered when they want them answered. And a lot of times their schedules, it dictates, there's a whole bunch of limitations dictated by that. A 50-minute schedule, for instance. You've got to teach that lesson in that 50 minutes. The students don't get more time to work on it as they might need to. So, which one's better? Distance learning or classroom-based learning? Well, I propose a blended model that you take distance learning and classroom-based learning and put them together. The school that I work at, which is called Centennial Boces High School in Greeley, Colorado, uses this sort of model where we have teachers that are available, but a lot of the coursework is online, and teachers are now facilitating or helping the students do their work, and it is a very student-centered learning instead of teacher-centered learning. And also, another school that uses this sort of model is Compass Community Collaborative School in Fort Collins, Colorado. Both Centennial Boces High School and Compass use a competency-based model, meaning that students have competencies that they must pass, that they must show that they're competent in certain areas. And it's not some sort of grade, it's not based on seat time, it's based on the product and what they produce. So it's student-centered. There's also increased student-teacher interaction because of the online nature of the program, because they can connect with their teachers in the classroom, but students can also connect with them outside of the classroom. The teachers can connect the students to experts in the field, and then they can get their questions answered that way as well. So blended learning is actually where it's at, because you can take the positives of both of these and put them together. Now, is that always the way it is? I'm sure there's probably lots of models out there that try to do this, but they're not taking the best of both worlds and putting them together. Obviously, you want to try to get the best of both worlds and put them together, and that is blended learning. So, distance learning, classroom-based learning, there's benefits to both, there's negatives to both. But if you put them together and get the strengths of both of them, you got yourself a winner, and that's called blended learning. Thanks for listening. Tell me your thoughts below. Take care.